Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Backlog, your weekly gaming news podcast here at Oafdiscussions, where we unpack all of the gaming news stories that come out and impact you and especially impact the industry. This week we have a little bit of I guess not much of a fun story. Normally we'd like to discuss just general things going on in the industry, and sometimes we do discuss more serious stuff, and we will discuss more serious stuff. But one of the things we're discussing this week is something that has been going on within not just the gaming industry for years, obviously, as it's beginning to come out more and more, but in entertainment in general. And that is cases of sexual harassment. And currently in this day and age, as far as with America as a whole and with our current state of affairs, where people who have been unfortunately affected by sexual harassment or been victims of sexual harassment, especially within the workplace, no matter what kind of workplace that is or where that is, people have begun to come out more and more and announce that they have been sexually harassed in different ways. And I guess one of the positive things is that people have begun to see other people come out and talk about their stories. And it has empowered them to come out themselves and kind of share their stories and in hopes that anybody else who is going through a similar thing, or anybody else who is dealing with a similar thing or feeling like they don't have any kind of support or any kind of anybody out there in their corner, it's kind of given them a way to kind of rally together and feel that they can announce what has happened to them. That way the people that have done these terrible things can be properly either prosecuted, reprimanded, whatever you want to call it. And we've seen this happen with, of course, Harvey Weinstein, Brett Ratner, various people within Hollywood entertainment. Louis C.K. is one of the most recent ones that have come out. But, of course, this being a gaming podcast, of course, it is now, unfortunately, affected the gaming industry, and pretty much at the top. We've heard stories before about Naughty Dog, former workers from Naughty Dog, saying that they were offered money, basically hush money, in order to keep quiet in certain situations. There was a really good Kotaku article written by Jason Schreier that covered that. But in this case, we're on the media side. So at IGN, there was a woman that used to work for IGN, very excellent writer, someone that I've supported over the years. And everybody in this whole situation is people that I've watched podcasts of, listened to, respected their opinions. Every party involved on both sides, on the negative sides, the quote unquote bad guys in this story, and also the victims in this story. And in this case, we had Callie Page, who was formerly at IGN, and now she works at GameSpot. But she's a writer and editor. She was a writer and editor at IGN. And about, I guess, a few months ago, she had left. Probably longer than that, actually. Probably about almost a year ago, she had left IGN. Somewhat abruptly. And many people move around in the industry back and forth between like different outlets and going from games media to games development and back and forth, etc. And I remember when this happened, she had left and didn't really think nothing of it. She went on to GameSpot. It was a good move for her. But this past week, actually on November 11th, she had posted a pretty lengthy tweet about exactly what had went down around the events of her leaving IGN. So she wrote on Twitter and basically said, and I'm just going to read the first part of this because it's pretty long. But she said, I can't swallow my anger any longer. The silence physically hurts. In 2016, while working at IGN, former IGN editor Vince Ingenito sexually harassed me and one other female employee for months. The harassment in my case included uncomfortable compliments. Guys don't like skinny girls. You're perfect, is what she puts in quotes. Manipulative and abusive comments. The guys he assumed I was dating are all boys. You need a real man, end quote. And overtly sexual comments. In quotes and parentheticals, when I was your age, I could go all night. He put his hand on my arm, she says, and then quotes again, I just want one more night like that. And she goes on to talk about how she reported it. Her and this other employee reported Vince in June of 2016. Now, this is where things really kind of went south in a way, and where it's a situation where the system itself had clearly failed Callie and the other woman involved, who is Chloe, who also is still employed at IGN. Now, Vince himself, he was abruptly let go from IGN, which around that time when that happened, I thought that was kind of strange, because it just came to a point where Vince was one of those people, and Callie as well, and Chloe still were people that were very forward-facing people most of the time. You saw them on Anime Club, you saw them on Unlocked, on Podcast Beyond, et cetera, et cetera. And Vince was kind of like the fighting game guy, if you don't know. That was kind of his specialty at IGN. So when he left, it seemed very abrupt. It was kind of weird, but when he left, he had posted some stuff on Twitter saying that, like, he was moving on, yada, yada. Didn't kind of think anything of it, but it still seemed strangely abrupt. So when this came out, this kind of brought everything to the light, exactly what was going on. So apparently in June 2016, Callie and Chloe of IGN brought this situation to their HR department. And it was, to put it bluntly, handled absolutely terribly. She goes on to talk about how when she reported it, after I reported him in June 2016, HR and upper management told me I needed to have better judgment about who I was friends with, making her out to be an equal participant in an inappropriate flirtation. She says my boss told me not to be uptight about being around Vince, and stated on several occasions that he just wanted this unpleasantness to be over. HR insinuated to me that she used my body, specifically my chest, to provoke him. I was asked who I danced with at an IGN E3 party. This was a man who preyed on me and a young woman 15 years his junior by identifying my insecurities at work, specifically regarding recognition for my work and manipulating my trust. I was made to sign a document stating that I'd behaved inappropriately on the condition that I'd be fired if it happened again. She goes on to say, I was forced to work with Vince for another 6 months until I left IGN for my current job. I spent the entirety of those months sick with anxiety, literally to the point of severe nausea every day. So it just goes on to show you that's where, and that was really her biggest thing. Like, the harassment was bad enough, but it was the fact that the HR department in specific did such a poor job of hearing what was going on, trying to garner an understanding for what was going on, getting both sides of the stories, and really getting Callie and Chloe, for that instance, out of a situation that was clearly causing them great discomfort within the workplace, which is something literally the job of an HR person is to be that line of defense for their employees. And the fact that there was not only just HR, but it was also somebody in upper management as well that would seem to be also handling this pretty poorly. And that was kind of one of the things that made me step back in the whole situation, besides the fact of all these people involved, like I said, are people that I've followed for multiple years now, people that I've respected their opinions, people that I've seen grow within the gaming industry in general. And the fact that it is something like this, especially in Vince's case, something this kind of like negative, this general just bad judgment, I guess is what you could say. And Vince released a statement as well. It's pretty lengthy and kind of broke down exactly everything from his perspective. And it just seemed like it was something that it was bad judgment on his part, and a terrible thing that he did, as far as like, and he kind of played the side of like he just didn't understand where their friendship was, etc. And then, but it's really the thing of, if we're going to have, especially in indie industry, not just in the gaming industry, but in indie industry, like we have to, as different companies, whether it's game developers, whether it's on the media side, anything, a website, an outlet, a magazine, anything, like everybody has to feel that their company in that situation would be there for them, as long as obviously they aren't the ones doing the wrong. But in this case, it was obvious that Callie was the victim, and Chloe as well. And the HR just handled it so terribly. It was honestly, it was mind-blowing. But now, like I said, one of the things that's been happening with these sexual harassment cases and situations being brought to the light is that people begin to rally together and support each other. And that's what you hope to see in any negative situation where somebody feels like they've been wronged, or any negative situation where somebody feels uncomfortable, or like something bad has been done to them. You hope that you will see the good of people come out, and people that were or are these people's friends rally to their side and support them fully. And that's exactly what happened. Now, there was obviously people online going through kind of the Twitter comments, as any other situation goes. You're going to have both sides of the fence. Some people spewing vile, yelling, screaming, fighting. Some people happy, some people sending support. You had both instances, both situations, and in both sides, on both Vince, who was the person accused, obviously, and the person who had done the wrong, and then on the victim side, on Callie's side, and on Chloe's side, you saw both, which is just a product of the internet and giving everyone a voice. Everybody's not going to line up exactly. But what happened was, yesterday in particular, IGN released a statement finally, kind of like laying everything out and saying how they were going to change things. Now, one of the things that I have to say off the bat, too, that was reassuring, I guess, in a way, and it's still terrible that it happened and that it took this long to get to this point, but the original HR person and that was involved, that was handling this initially when Callie reported it, they had been let go, which, I mean, obviously they weren't doing their job. That needed to happen. But the other thing that happened yesterday is that IGN pretty much, Callie's former colleagues and friends that worked with her at IGN, and then the ones that still obviously work there with Chloe, basically told management, we're not doing anything until you guys get this shit together, to put it kind of lightly. Because they felt that they had been kept in the dark about something that was affecting someone that they cared deeply about. And that just wasn't going to fly, and they weren't going to do anything else. They weren't going to work anymore until the management, until they could sit down as a workplace and as friends and colleagues, and really a family in most cases, and iron this out, figure out what the hell went wrong, and figure out how to move forward and prevent it from ever happening again. That was the big thing. That was very reassuring to see. And I could see, obviously, on Twitter, etc., you could see that Callie was very appreciative of this, and felt very moved by this, and I know Chloe did as well. But it's just one of those things that you have to be mindful. And one of the things that has come out in this whole situation, whether it's from Hollywood, whether it's in America in general, with the amount of sexual harassment cases that are coming out, is that we have to be mindful and understand and listen to each other's issues and just don't question, don't second guess, don't try to interrogate anybody. If somebody says something makes them uncomfortable, then you need to take the time out and understand why and be supportive, period. In every industry, not just the gaming industry, in every workplace, not just a gaming website, in every social situation, not just one like this. It's something that we have to be better about and something that we need to do more of as a society of people moving forward, especially in this day and age. And this is not just akin to sexual harassment. This is akin to anybody feel discriminated against, whether it be because of the color of their skin, gender, sexual orientation, anything. But yeah, I know it's a little bit more serious episode, and obviously all the episodes won't be this serious, but I think it's something that needs to be discussed because it's something that is affecting this industry that we care so much about as far as the gaming industry goes. So we have to be mindful of this, understand it, and continue to push forward and support each other regardless, because this is something that we love to do. This is something that we're entertained by. So it's something we have to make sure is morally in the right place. So, as always, thank you guys for listening to the backlog. My name is Kid Swift, and we come to you each and every week unpacking the gaming news stories that you love and that affect you and the gaming industry as a whole. We will continue to do this each and every week. If you guys have any story ideas, please feel free to send them in at oafdiscussions@gmail.com. Join the Facebook group at facebook.com/oafdiscussions/group/oafdiscussions. I'm sorry. I'm at KNKidSwift. Britt is at LLCoolB22. Webb is at Webb859 on Twitter. Shayna is at ShaynaMB. And Oaf Discussions is at every podcast provider that you have, whether it's iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, all of the above. The same can be said for the backlog. You can find all those on our website and on all podcast providers as well. Guys, as always, thank you very much. Thank you for support. We appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.